I was sitting in a Starbucks about 6 months before the famous Philadelphia incident, when this young woman came in who, you know, she was sitting at a table outside, had a bunch of stuff on it. She kind of looked like she might be homeless or whatever, but that's, or I should say experiencing homeless. Saying calling a person homeless is not correct. But anyway, she had obviously bought a drink there earlier in the day, probably around 9 o'clock, and it was now 1:30. She asked the person behind the counter if she could use the bathroom. They said no, you need to be a paying customer. She gets upset because she wants to use the bathroom, and she says to him, she did, buy something earlier that day. Anyway, he was adamant and refused. I tried to intercede. I didn't try to talk to her so much as I tried to talk to the guy behind the counter. He just didn't want to listen to me. I tried to present the point. I really said to him, do you want to be right or do you want to be successful? I'm like, maybe you have a valid complaint, wanting to withhold her access to the bathroom. But I mean, what the benefit of you? Anyway, she, got tired of him at some point and went outside. She had her stuff on the table. For the next hour or so, she, fortunately the Starbucks had two doors. She kind of danced in front of the one door and just trying to egg on the person, the manager who was behind the counter. The whole interaction between him and her really unsettled everyone in the store. So everyone was kind of sitting on the edge of their seat. When I asked him about it, he was, expressing to me that he wanted to protect the environment in the store. And my thought was to him, even if you did think you did that, ultimately everyone saw you, yelling at this person or at least raising your voice to them for about a minute. Now for another hour, this person is outside the store trying to, cause mischief. What did you gain from that? Eventually the police did come. They didn't, take her away. They just had her pack up her stuff and she moved on. But it really comes to, the issue of that. I understand, sometimes when you have a valid complaint, you have a valid reason for requesting something, but what is your goal here? When someone is in need of something, especially in this case, we're talking about a bathroom, right? Maybe will she make it dirty? Yeah, that's possible. But I don't know, trying to withhold something from someone, especially a basic need of that, to me seems to be, kind of abusive. Of course, now, 6 months later, the Starbucks incident where they, asked a couple black people to leave the store for inappropriate reasons, I guess, or whatever the story was. And now Starbucks has completely changed their policy where they're like, they have open access to the bathrooms, which, it's, it was a long time coming, isn't necessarily a good thing because it doesn't make people accountable for their behavior. Potentially, you're now going to have people who are vagrants and kind of hanging out in the store, but it's certainly better than shunning them because they need access to a public restroom.